Hey, friends, thank you for listening to the Covenant Podcast. If you're interested in improving your proficiency in biblical Greek, consider registering for an upcoming class at CBT Seminary this summer, taught by Timothy Decker. If you're interested to learn more about that class, stay tuned to the end of this episode. I'll include a little video by him plugging that class, but you can register for that class at cbtseminary.org. Thanks for listening today. Welcome to another episode of the Covenant Podcast brought to you by CBT Seminary. This is a resource which exists to equip listeners with theological content from a 1689 Baptist perspective. And today we have the special privilege to welcome our brother Jorge Rodríguez onto the podcast with us. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
No, thank you very much, Austin. It's a blessing for me to be here with you and spending these minutes talking about what the Lord's doing with our people in the Spanish-speaking world.
Yes, excited to hear about all that the Lord is doing. For our listeners tuning in, the title of this episode is CBTS in Español. Before we talk a little bit about the CBTS in Español program, brother, it has been a few years since we've had you on our show. So we want to ask you to give an update on your life and ministry during this season, and perhaps including your responsibilities with what we're going to be talking about today, CBTS in Español.
Yeah, so thank you very much again for the invitation. It's always a blessing for me to be here and spending time with you talking about what the Lord is doing in this part of the world. I'm so happy to tell you that with the things about the books and all of that have been the things going and growing in a good sense with Confessional Baptist Legacy or Legado Bautista Confesional. We have been growing. Right now we have around 80 titles that we have published in Spanish since 2019, in December of 2019. And very happy with many projects that I'm working with a team. We are working on John Gill project, translating the works of John Gill. Dr. Michael Hakin is helping us with the project, giving some advices about what to publish, when, how, and all of that. We are working with Benjamin Bedham project too. Benjamin Bedham was a particular Baptist pastor. And we began last year something that we call the Translators Academy. The Translators Academy had have the vision to help our people in our world, in our Hispanic-speaking world, to learn about how to translate books from the 17th century, 18th century, and helping them to understand some of the culture, some of the people that we are trying to translate, and working in some projects like, group projects, in order to put in Spanish the works of many of these godly men that we had in our history. So last year was Benjamin Bedham. We worked with Pastor Jason Montgomery. His doctor studies was in Benjamin Bedham, and he was an amazing work with him. He was teaching our translators students maybe 4 or 5 lectures on Benjamin Bedham, trying to understand who was him, what was the context to against what he was writing, or what was the reason for books like the scriptural exposition of the Baptist Catechism and the sermons. And we took as a project the 8 volumes of the sermons of Benjamin Bedham. So right now we have translated the whole thing. The students receive a homework, let's say that way, the homework every week. So you need to translate this sermon this week, and then the next week they gave us the sermon translated, and then we give to another student. So he revised, and the one that he translate switched to another one. So they were checking each other, to see if everything was correct. And we had a result of that. So number one, we transcript the whole 8 volumes of Benjamin Bedham in order to see if that could be published in English sometime with the direction of Dr. Montgomery. We had the translation of the 8 volumes, and right now we are publishing some of these volumes, one by one. Right now, maybe in 2 weeks, we'll be ready for publish the first one. And the reason to delay it a little bit was on me, and the reason was, we had the opportunity to translate the whole sermons, and that was a blessing. But then Benjamin Beddom always finished, or not always, but many times finished his sermons with a hymn. And when you're reading a hymn, something that you're willing to find is that poetry and the metric and all of that. That is part of the beauty of something like that. So for me, it was not fair with Beddom just to publish in a literal way what the hymn was saying. So I was trying to work on that, and because of that, we began another project with that, call it the Beddom Hymns. So right now we are putting in a metric and poetry, trying to be very faithful to what Beddom wrote in the hymns, and we are putting some music. So I'm working with a couple in Paraguay, that's South America, very close to Brazil and to Argentina. And this couple, they are professional musicians, and they are, very willing to work with me on that. So I'm very happy with them. They're very talented. And so we actually record the first demo of that, with the music of the hymn of the sermon number 1 of volume 1. So that was the beginning of that. And I want to share with you later, the link. So if somebody want to hear the project or see, how could be help with this, you can see more information there, and you can see and listen to the first hymn that we are translating and working with Beddom. So this is part of that. This year we are working with Benjamin Keach. So, and we are working with Dr. Corey Johnson. We have another students. Every season we have like 4 or 5 months of teaching, and then they're working on the project. This season we have around 12 or 15 students, and they're working with Benjamin Keach, working on his children works. So it's amazing. It's poetry again. So it's a lot of things there, but we are very excited. So we are hoping to publish, if the Lord help us, everything of Benjamin Keach in Spanish. Now, obviously, that will be not this year, or maybe not in 15 years, but this is the idea we have, and we are very blessed, to put all that names in the hands of our people in Spanish. So this is some of the things we are doing right now. I don't know if you have, or guys, if you have any question about that, but that is the part of Confessional Baptist Legacy. That's the book publishing house, and that's what we are working right now with them.
Well, brother, that is a very exciting life and ministry update, and we are so thankful for the work that you are doing in so many ways, Jorge, to serve the church at large, particularly with making our Reformed Baptist theological heritage available to our Spanish-speaking brethren. And that really segues us into what we want to ask you about primarily today, this CBTS and Español project that you have really taken a sizable role in. And we want to ask you just to give our listeners a little bit of information about what programs CBTS is offering in Spanish, and maybe a little bit of the backstory as to when CBTS in Español began, and why we viewed this as a seminary. Why do we view this as a major initiative to begin? So really, Jorge, the floor is yours. We'd love to hear how CBTS in Español began, and the progress that it has made here from the time that it began to the present date.
Right. Thank you. So the things began like this. I was invited for Dr. Waldron to go to Owensboro. I take the first modules in CBTS. And since the beginning, I love the vision, the Confessional Reformed Baptist Seminary with this pastoral heart. So that was in my heart since the beginning. So I really, was trying to be involved with the things. I learned that Dr. Waldron was going to Colombia, helping with the seminary there, trying to give a program for the people there. So maybe 1 or 2 years later, I asked Dr. Waldron, what if we begin something in Ecuador? What if we have something like this? And for our listeners, I want to explain a little bit what is that. So we have seminaries, national seminaries in different countries of South America, that we have this relation as affiliate seminaries of CBTS. So the first one was in Colombia, And the way that works is we have modules every 3 months, and the program, the full program is 3 years and a half. So there's 15 modules. And we are sending teachers or people that we recommend from CBTS in order to teach in that program every 3 months. And the seminary there receive the teacher and organize all the module there. So that was at the beginning in Colombia. So the second one was Ecuador. We began in 2016 with the same vision, trying to give the program the classes that Colombia was receiving. And that makes or help us to begin the vision of these international programs with CBTS. So right now we are in 8 different countries. I had the privilege just to, to be part of what the Lord is doing and helping with, trying to find some places to begin that, and have been a wonderful delight to see the hand of the Lord working among our people in South America. So the first one was Colombia, then Ecuador, then Cuba, then Brazil, then Mexico, then Costa Rica, then Chile. And God's willing, next year in February, we'll have the privilege to begin the one in Peru. And we are still waiting for the vote of the board, but everything looks very in that direction because it's part of the vision we have as CBTS. And we are hoping to have more affiliate seminaries in that sense. So Confessional Baptist Legacy began because of this affiliate seminaries project. So the question was that, how we will train people if we don't have books of our faith, right? I began in the beginning of this. I remember in the beginning of this project, when a teacher come, for example, to teach, I don't know, covenant theology, he asked, Jorge, what we have in Spanish? So I said, well, we have this book and that book. And he said, well, we will read chapter 3 of this book and then the appendix of that one, but please tell the student to not read anything else, something like that. So that was like, wow, it's amazing. And now, with the growing and understanding of all that things in detail, you said, yeah, I understand why they were trying to do not confuse our students to read Pedro Baptist vision on the covenants or, federal vision in an incorrect way. So that was the reason of beginning Legado in that sense. So we translate The Mystery of Christ by Sam Renehan and books of our particular Baptist fathers in order to have books for the seminaries, for the students, in order to read and prepare everything they need for the papers and all of that. So CBTS en Español is the continuation of what we are doing with affiliate seminaries. Our desire is not to stop with the affiliate seminaries all around Latin America. And actually, tomorrow I am flying to Spain to be in Stockholm and Sweden and Valencia, Spain, and Italy in the south, hoping that may the Lord help us to begin something like that, like what we have here in Latin America, there with Hispanic-speaking people. You need to imagine how many Hispanic churches we have, Reformed Baptist churches in Europe. And by the way, I'm visiting right now, my plan is going to a Reformed Baptist church in Paris, France. It's a Hispanic Reformed Baptist church. So you can imagine all that opportunity to bless and help people to be trained in this, with this mode of teaching with affiliate seminaries. God may the Lord help us to have something like that in Europe, maybe many of them, and the one in Italy will be in Italian, but the same idea to have the modules, teachers coming from CBTS, helping seminaries from the countries and giving them the curriculum, the teachers, in order to have all that teaching. What happened when somebody finished the program that we have in the affiliate seminaries? Well, they can transfer their credits to CBTS and they can study with us in CBTS en Español in order to finish the whole curriculum of the MDiv in Spanish. So if somebody finished there, they will receive around 35 credit hours, and then they just need to finish the 98, with the rest of that in 98 doing the classes we have in CBTS and Español completely in Spanish, with the same pathway we have for CBTS proper in English, and with the opportunity to even have some modules in the United States directly in Spanish for the people who is interested to take modules like that. So in this sense, that's the reason sometimes it's a little hard when somebody asks me, what is your ministry? I said, well, I am in many ministries connected with one same reason and goal, that is the blessing of the church, the Hispanic speaking church. And that means training in the countries, like what we are doing with affiliate seminaries, books in order to finish that training, and CBTS and Español, that is how to complete and finish the program in order to have new teachers from their own countries teaching the same program. In the past, they need American teachers to do that, but we are hoping in the future that we can have people speaking our language, teaching our people in the places we are. So that is in the big picture of what we are doing in that sense. So I don't know if you have any question about, I said a lot of things there, but
I'll follow up in a few ways. How new is the program now? How long has the program existed? When did you begin taking students?
Well, we began to talk about that last year, even when that was a project for many years. But we began in the semester in the fall of 2024. So actually, this is our second semester of the program in Spanish with CBTS, and we are looking forward. We are very excited about our around 40, 50 students right now from different countries, even people from Africa taking the classes. There's only one country in Africa that speaks Spanish, and I'm very happy to have contact with them. And we have 3 or 4 students from that country. That's Equatorial Guinea. That's the name of the country.
And some of what you're doing is translating some of the material from classes that have been taught. And I'm assuming there are some challenges with languages in some sense. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So the initial idea is doubling. I have a problem with doubling. It's not doubling. How do you say when you translate somebody speaking with have another language? You know what I mean? Doubling the classes. And so we are doing right now that with many of the classes. We already have like 10 classes that we are offering in Spanish, even when there's a class in English, now doubling to Spanish. And but our desire is to have some modules actually in Spanish that we can have, like, for example, I'm hoping that a good friend like Sam Renihan, that he speaks fluent Spanish. I'm trying to convince him, hey, Sam, teach for our people in CBTS and Español covenant theology for us. Something like that will be a blessing. And there is people who have doctoral studies or they're going in that direction that will be very happy to receive them and teaching the classes completely in Spanish. Right now, we are doubling the classes. And one of the big challenges that we have is the books. You can imagine, for example, we are offering right now Apologetics with Dr. Waldron, Introduction to the Systematic Theology and Apologetics. And all of the books that are required readings for that are not in Spanish. So things like that. So what to do? Well, sometimes we don't have the permission to do that because it's a big publishing house or something like that. Sometimes we need to ask permission to doing a automatic translation. That means not a professional one, but automatic one with artificial intelligence, and doing some proofreadings and giving the opportunity to students to read that or to read it in English. So, not for sale, nothing like that, just put in there only for the students, having the chance to read the best resources that we are asking in English, having that in Spanish. But at the same time, all the resources we can translate, that will be our preference, and publish in Spanish, talking with all the editorial houses. So, for example, we had last semester Spurgeon on the Lord's Day and the law, and the teacher of that class was the Dr. Brandon Ray. He published a book on Spurgeon on the Sabbath, and I received the permission for Founders Press to translate that to Spanish. But we cannot have that now, but maybe 6 months later we will provide that book in Spanish through the Confessional Baptist Legacy editorial. So that is part of the challenges we have been a blessing, sometimes a little stressful. We need to work, we need to move. It's not just recording, but we need to work on the doubling thing. We have a wonderful team. One is working on the transcript of that, translating that. Another one is doing the doubling with his voice. Another one is doing the video edition. So you can imagine I have many people working with me in order to have all of that ready for every semester when we are offering the classes. So right now, it's not still perfect as we wish in that sense, but we're working in that direction, hoping that we can have that. And about the languages, we have the privilege to have with us Pastor Javier Martinez. He's from Colombia, and he have been the teacher of Greek and Hebrew for some seminaries in Spanish, and actually have been a blessing to receive from our Spanish-speaking students, their excitement and saying, hey, that have been a blessing. I had take many classes on Greek, but this one have been a wonderful thing. So we are very thankful to have him as the main teacher right now. But we know that maybe in the future we'll need more than one. So that's an encouragement. If somebody that is part of our listeners speak fluent Spanish and love Greek and Hebrew and is thinking on his doctoral studies, you are so welcome, man. We're waiting for you.
Yeah, I can only imagine how challenging it would be to try to learn one of the biblical languages as it's being taught in a language that's not your own native language. Like
Right.
it's like this unnecessary mediating language between those. So yes, to hear that the biblical languages are being taught from Spanish to Greek or Spanish to Hebrew, that is a major blessing. Praise the Lord for that. One more follow-up question here. Is the MDiv program the only program that's being offered right now in CBTS in Español?
Yes. So we have been talking with Pastor John Miller, the vice president of CBTS, talking about the possibility to offer the Master of Arts in Reformed Baptist Studies too in Spanish, but we are not there yet. I'm hoping maybe next semester we can think in something like that. But right now we are just offering the BDiv or the MDiv with it's a big program actually, and in one sense, the lower or the shorter programs will be easier to have because we have the big one. But we are focused on trying to provide the whole classes for the big one, and then maybe we'll talk about the specific degrees that we can offer at CBTS and Español.
That's helpful. I was going to ask you to talk a little bit about the affiliate seminaries, and you've kind of already begun to do that. I think it's been clear from your answer that the affiliate seminaries are not formally part of CBTS, although we have a partnership with them where sometimes we share professors, we send people to come and teach in the classes, and the affiliate institutions offer their own degrees to their own students. But sometimes those students will go on and come to CBTS and Español because there will be more opportunities for further study to go on and actually get an MDiv, which you made known several of the CBTS affiliate seminaries don't currently offer. They don't offer a full MDiv program.
Right.
So
Right.
I'll just skip that question and let Dewey ask his.
Well, Jorge, I'm sure as you've been expounding these insights with our listeners that some who are hearing this episode at some point in the future after it gets released and has time to get spread through YouTube and the various podcast channels that are out there, there's likely some who are just wondering how they can support this initiative other than just praying for the work that y'all are doing. Would you be willing to share some ways that our listeners can very practically and tangibly support CBTS and Español, and maybe there's some who are listening that would be interested in enrolling into one of the programs that are offered through CBTS and Español. So kind of a two-sided question here. Number one, what are concrete ways that our listeners can support the work you're doing? And secondly, for those interested in actually getting involved as a student, what encouragements would you give them to think through on the front end of actually enrolling?
Great. Yeah. So let me answer the first one in a little wider way, because when we talk about the ministry, right? If we want, or in the way we're thinking, to have students for CBTS and Español that came from Latin America or from the affiliate seminaries, there is needs that we have in the affiliate seminaries that could be reached out by, some of the people that maybe is willing to help us in that sense. For example, this morning we had a conversation with Pastor Rene from Cuba, with Pastor John Miller. So the three of us talking about what will be the future. So we are finishing the first cycle. That means we finished the first 15 modules there. And now we will decide what will be the next one, how that will looks like. So we are talking about numbers. The first cycle was support by one church, giving the money for all the modules, even for the tickets of the pastors to come to go to Cuba. But now we will need to ask, each of the teachers to go to Cuba, and maybe if they're willing to give some money in order to pay for food and hosting for students. And the reason is this: I'm very behind the idea and pushing the idea that every seminary, affiliate seminary, must be self-sufficient in the financial way. So we are, even when we could not pay what the teacher, is worthy for the class and all of that, and all of them come, freely, and in order to love us in that sense, we are thinking always that we are the one who need to pay the ticket, we need to pay the hosting, that's the way we need to think in our countries. But when we're talking about Cuba or Venezuela, we're always thinking in something different, right? They don't have the opportunity to do that. So because of that, there's specific needs in places like Cuba that maybe will be a blessing, that they can help us directly with that seminary down there. And in that sense, maybe we can find a teacher that is willing to teach, but maybe he said, brother, I don't have the money for support the module. And maybe somebody could support or help that teacher to come down to teach, to come to the Iceland and teach, and maybe the support from somebody else will be a blessing and make possible that teacher could come and teach. You know what I mean? So in that sense, there's many ways to help, and I will be very happy to talk if somebody want to call me or to write me and say, Jorge, tell me more about Cuba or Mexico or Colombia or Ecuador or Chile. I have my heart there. How I can help? I can be trying to be a blessing to them, trying to teach them how to do it and try to guide them how to do it. That's about our affiliate seminaries in South America. We have an account of a fund that we call the South America Seminaries, that if somebody want to help us with that could be used for many different resources in Latin America, including books or the tickets for the teacher, or needs in all of the countries in order to have the module. So that is something that you can do directly, talking with our brother Bryce in CBTS, and he will be, willing to give you the direction on how to help directly to that fund. That could be a blessing for the seminaries down there. And if you are hoping to help CBTS program, helping to raising the funds to that, or to helping to pay some of the scholarship we are giving, for example, people in different places of Latin America, even when we have a different price. If somebody lives in the US and want to study in CBTS Español, it's one cost. And if he's outside the United States, he have another cost. But even with that, some people in Latin America don't have the chance or the opportunity to pay for their studies. And maybe somebody that is listening to us here could be a blessing for that church or for that student to help them, to support their studies. I had the chance to talk to some pastors in the conference in CovCon, encourage them, because they were willing to see, like, hey, could we support somebody from Peru or from Colombia or yeah. And I can give you the name and the address if you want, so you can talk to them directly. But it will be a blessing because you will help somebody directly to study and finish their studies with something that maybe he don't have the chance to have. A lot of the students we have in South America are, they have a full-time job. They are full-time pastors. They are full-time fathers. They are full-time doing things in order to provide some things for their churches. So it's impossible, even when they are willing to have the desire to study or continue their study. So that could be a blessing. And please talking to our brother Bryce, and how to help us from the United States. If you want to help direct some of these countries, you can write me. I don't know, brothers, if maybe I can say my email and they can write or put it here. But it's, Rodríguez at cbtseminary.org, the same direction as everybody, but just Rodríguez. That's my last name. And I'll be willing to talk to you and giving some, advices of how to help, because it is a lot of needs, and you could be a blessing, and never think that you have little to give. If somebody have little to give, we'll have a lot to receive, in that sense. So yeah, thank you very much. That's my email. So I'll be very, very willing to receive your email and your information. So, and if you want to study with us in CBTS Español, please write me, or you can enter to our website, that is cbtsespañol.org. CBTS Español, everything together, español.org. That is our website, and you can find there our program, how to contact us. You can write me too. I will be very happy to talk to you and leading you how to, be enrolled in the seminary with us in the program in Spanish.
These are exciting projects and developments, Jorge. It was so great getting to chat with you about the ways that you're helping to advance CBTS's mission to take quality theological education, particularly from our Reformed Baptist heritage, and to make it available to Spanish-speaking brethren all around the world, as well as the publishing efforts that you're doing. On top of all of that, it's hard to imagine when you have time to sleep or time just to rest and get caught up on some relaxation from time to time. But nevertheless, thank you for carving out this portion of your busy schedule to join us on our show. And I know Austin and I and many of our listeners are looking forward to seeing how God continues to work through your labors in the days to come.
Thank you very much. It is my privilege to spend time with you and talking about these that move our hearts. And I'm so happy. I was talking to Dr. Waldron and Rex the other day. I said, I'm so happy to be part of this family, to be part of CBTS. I love what we are doing. I love and I believe in this confessional teaching and training. And that's the reason we are trying to encourage people to be with us. It's not something about the name of our seminary. I love our name. I love what we are, but it's not that part. I'm very with the churches and with the people and with my people in different parts of the world, with the next generation, and trying to train them well in order that they can have something better than what they receive, even when we love and we respect everything that was behind us, before us. I really want that we can have something different when will be not here anymore, So it is a blessing to see how this is going, and I'm very happy with the support. I have received many emails and people, encourage the work that we are doing, and thank you for all the listeners. Please pray for us. We need to grow. We need to learn how to grow, because it is hard to leave your little project from your car garage, right, and going to the big building and moving that. In that sense, sometimes it's hard to move from something that is little, it's just me, and then moving to another one and giving and teaching other people and trying to encourage them to have the same passion. So I'm hoping that in the next months things will be happening in that sense, and I could have some news to share with you. I will be very happy always to come back, and thank you for the opportunity to let me share some of the things we are doing.
Well, it was a joy, brother. And we love hearing your heart. And I know Austin and I completely echo everything you've said about the CBTS family. What a privilege it is to join together to serve the Lord and to train up the next generation of pastors and missionaries and churchmen in the truths of God's word as confessed and expressed in our Reformed Baptist tradition. So thank you for all that you do, brother. And to our listeners, we do thank you as well for your continued support of the Covenant Podcast. If you're not already doing so, we would just invite you to follow us on X and subscribe to our YouTube channel for further developments on what the Lord is doing through Covenant Baptist Theological Seminary. Of course, above all else, we do appreciate your prayers and any encouragement that you send our way as well. So thank you for your support. And to our listeners, we do wish you grace and peace in the Lord Jesus Christ. God bless.
Pastors, have you let your Greek become dull and rusty, not having used it much since seminary? First-year Greek students, are you concerned that you're going to lose over the summer what you've acquired in Greek 1 and 2? Well, if that's the case, maybe I can help you with that. Hi, my name is Timothy Decker, and I serve as one of the professors of biblical languages at Covenant Baptist Theological Seminary. Wanted to tell you about an upcoming one-credit course that we're offering this summer, Greek of 1 John. I'm affectionately calling this class Greek 2.5. Its purpose is to help those newly minted Greek 1 and 2 students to prepare them for Greek 3. And it's also to help those pastors and students who haven't dabbled much in their Greek New Testaments lately to refresh themselves with the Greek New Testament. The vocabulary and grammar of 1 John is rather simple, and so it serves as a very helpful way to get back into the Greek when you haven't done much with it in a while. In Greek of 1 John, we'll learn some concepts of intermediate grammar as well as syntax, and we'll go over some structural analysis and how that can aid in sermon preparation and homiletical outlines. But we'll also be reviewing first-year grammar and grammatical concepts to help us remember all that we have learned originally. And for those of you who are into the ancient manuscripts, we'll be looking at some Greek manuscripts from 1 John, as well as doing a little bit of textual criticism. All of this will take place over a 8-week period with a final exam at the end. And there will be vocabulary memorization as well as translation work and reading. But some of you need that to push you to stay in the text and to continue furthering your time in the Greek New Testament. If you fall into either category of a first-year Greek student or a seasoned pastor but looking to refresh your Greek, or maybe you just want to do a Greek exegesis of 1 John, I'd love to see you and join us in NT16, Greek of 1 John. Until then, may you know the fullness of joy that 1 John 1:4 speaks of, that alone comes through an abiding communion with Christ Jesus.